The year was 2021. Five Nights at Freddy's was now a cult classic horror game, being out for almost 7 years at this point. This is a massive feat for the indie horror community, and with the hype for Five Nights at Freddy's security breach, there seemed to be no slowing down. But like Coke and Pepsi, this left room for a competitor. 2 months before Security Breach hit shelves, a little game by the name of Poppy Playtime hit the Steam page. Markiplier and Corey Kenjin were on it fast, with Corey's first video on Poppy Playtime sitting at a crazy 42 million views. Mob Entertainment saw a hole in the market and pounced, and all it took was a good chase. Now, why is this important, you might be asking? It's because of just how important that one chase was. To many, it was just a chase, but to a lot of people, it was much more. If you fell under the bracket of it was just a chase, Poppy Playtime's popularity was most likely a point of frustration for you. Because how does a game like that get so popular, you ask? But see, if you are this person, I think you failed to see everything that went around that climax to that chase. You never gave it a chance, and if your mind was already made up on Poppy Playtime being bad, then how is Poppy Playtime ever going to win you over? I mean, Mob Entertainment has spent the last 3 chapters trying to recreate the magic of that one chase. It's obviously important. But here is the thing. All to do with this chase being so good is tone, build up, shock, and the quality of the chase. Mob quickly realized no matter what they do, majority of these qualities couldn't be simply replicated. Keeping the tone consistent in a longer chapter is difficult. Sure, they could have the build up, but chances are if you're playing later chapters, a precedence of what to come was already set. So shock was gone as well, unless they did something else entirely. And so the only thing guaranteed from here on was quality. Now, there's a lot we could say about chapter 2 and 3's quality, but we're here to talk about chapter 4. Will this be the best chapter Mob Entertainment has ever created? Or will it fall flat after waiting 11 months for it to come out? Every chapter begins with a cold open, and this chapter is no different. This is Jack, and he's very excited about his new toy, DOEY, and he just got a ticket to the
Playtime Factory?
Once Jack arrives at the Playtime Factory, and oh my god, Jack just fell into the vat of Play-Doh. That is amazing. This is by far the best cold open in the series. Mob Entertainment promised this is going to be the darkest chapter yet, and this cold open just fulfilled that promise before even hitting the title card. We begin directly where chapter 3 ended, going down the elevator. Kissy is in trouble, so Poppy leaves us to go save her, leaving us to explore the depths of Playtime Co. Before Poppy leaves us though, she gives us a warning of what to expect.
It's hell,
Hell?
and Playtime wanted it to be.
You've been there before? How do you know? She also says there is still time to save the orphans. This dialogue will be important later. Once we get control of the player, the game reminds us how to play the game with a simple puzzle swing with the blue hand, grab the battery, put it in the hole, and the door is open. All very basic stuff if you have played the previous chapters. Some might view the back to basic formula every chapter goes through as an annoyance and not trusting the player to remember the gameplay mechanics from previous chapters, but I see it as a way to distinguish each chapter from one another instead of it just being a continuation. This can be sold as a complete package by itself, not relying on what came before it. Some might also see this beginning puzzle and let out a loud groan, as they're hoping puzzles like this wouldn't make it to chapter 4, because one of chapter 3's biggest complaints was its puzzles, but Mob Entertainment knew that and strived to fix that. You'll see what I mean later. Whilst exploring a little more, Ollie radios you to remind you he exists, and we encounter what I believe to be our first corpse ever in this entire game, besides the one we've seen in cutscenes. We then get in a train. What happened last time we got in a train? We then meet one of our primary antagonists for this chapter, the Doctor. The voice acting for the Doctor sounds like he just walked off the set of The Dark Knight Rises. Then you guessed it, the train crashes. Something I didn't mention whilst going through this section is the severe number of documents and optional dialogue you go through to get to this point. This is where this game comes into a slight issue. Without picking up the documents and listening to the VHS tapes, this game's pacing is pretty good. But if you are playing this game, you care about the lore, so you aren't simply going to skip out on it. You are asking too much of the player base to play Reading Simulator for the first half an hour at the very beginning of your chapter. I have walked through 3 rooms and 2 hallways, and you have chalked out 5 documents the same length of the Declaration of Independence and 2 VHS tapes with a still image and dialogue. I understand the game is wanting to give you that juicy lore, and that's what we are here for, but there are other avenues to achieving this same goal. At the very least, don't ruin the pacing of the first hour of your game by chucking so much of it at the start. Luckily, once you get off the crash train, the game doesn't continue to drown you with documents and VHS tapes, and leans into more drip feeding us a bit more. After getting off the train, we find ourselves at the prison of Playtime Co., which is an insane sentence to say in regards to talking about a toy factory, but with everything that previous chapters has showed us, it fits naturally into the story, not feeling out of place. Here you'll find our first actual combat encounter, which is a simple wait out the timer, shut these doors to prevent nightmare critters from entering the room, and blast the rest with your finger gun. You may also notice that when the nightmare critters hit you, it no longer instantly kills you, which I think when engaging with these variants of enemies makes sense, but more on that later. It's not entirely clear it's a timed event at first glance, and I encountered some audio feedback during the encounter. Yo, is the audio like just really scuffed right now? But overall, a fine first encounter. Now, the devs didn't make it clear they weren't playing around anymore. They had one more hallway up their sleeve. Oh my, oh my, oh my. This ain't Poppy Playtime no more. This is serious game. Oh my! After going through a trip and dying to said trip because I got lost on where to go, we meet YARNABY. Hello? Hello, hello, hello. Our first encounter of YARNABY is a simple sneak past him in a few rooms. It's fine. I do like that if you do die to YARNABY, there is actually an animation of him eating you. Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to say it. I really wanted to say it. You will never leave this place. I just wanted to say what happened if he ate me. That's cool. While sneaking away from YARNABY, you fall into a pit and come face to face with the PIANOSAURUS. He turns his murderous piano face towards you. He begins to slowly approach you. You prepare for an epic chase to break out, and then oh, okay. Oh, there goes PIANOSAURUS. The choice to have Dinosaurus killed within the first 15 seconds of meeting him is definitely one of the strangest choices I've ever seen these devs make. On one hand, I get that they're using him to show how strong DOEY is, but on the other hand, you could have had at least one encounter with PIANOSAURUS where we end up trapped and then DOEY saves us. I mean, your artist went through all this effort to design him, and his design is top notch. You even created an entire theme song for him and posted a short on your official account. I imagine in the end it came down to deadlines, but it is slightly disappointing to see. After meeting the lovable DOEY, we find ourselves at a locked door that isn't very clear to open at first. On that note, it's time to talk about how the devs took the biggest complaint from chapter 3 in the abundance of puzzles, and I would say, for the most part, fixed it. See, the issues wasn't that there was too many puzzles, it was that it was the same copy and paste puzzle over and over again, only, you know, more challenging. And if I wanted to experience that, I just go play Angry Birds or something. It's not that the puzzles themselves were bad, it's the fact that when you'd get to the puzzle, you'd already know all the moving parts of the puzzle. You just had to figure out what order the moving parts went into, rather than it being a new experience. Now with chapter 4, instead of it being how do I get the electricity from this point to another over and over again, it's where do I find the valve handle to stop the red smoke from killing me? How do I open this door using some chains, levers, and numbers on a wall? My personal favorite, how do I find the code for this computer using 5 TVs pointing at toys, a diagram on a wall with numbers coordinating to cuts, a massive maze that requires a gas mask to explore, and oh look, there is one of the toys we saw on one of the TV screens, and it has a 4-digit tag on it. I wonder if that has something to do with the code for the computer. There is just so much more depth to these puzzles, with minimal to no hand-holding. Back to the story, DOEY goes ahead to a place called Safe Haven. Before we catch up to him, we run into... yeah. Oh, Kissy! Still being chased by the prototype, we make our escape through the showers and find ourselves at Safe Haven, and DOEY is not too happy we led the prototype to Safe Haven.
You brought him down?
Poppy has a plan though.
The plan is this. We'll fill the foundation with smoke and line it with old mining charges. Then once you, me, and Kissy have freed the orphans, our friends here will blow this place sky high.
Alright, you'll find the safe haven itself littered with miniature smiling critters. Small reminder that every toy you see here was once a human being. These are no longer just toys. That's someone's son, someone's daughter, and they are alone in the depths of Playtime Co., starving and lost. The safe haven is all they have. It's all DOEY has as well. It's his family.
The toys out there in Safe Haven, they're my family.
DOEY also tells us a bit more about the doctor.
He was the scientist in charge of creating us.
We needed to get the Omni Hand from the Doctor to power this generator and move the smoke so we could fulfill Poppy's plan. But even if we didn't, the Doctor needed to be put down. He was an irredeemable monster that experimented on kids and created a majority of the toys we see before us. Whereas previous chapters' primary antagonists were confused, manipulated toys, for the most part, the Doctor was an actual villain. But before we could get to the Doctor, we needed to go through YARNABY first. In the YARNABY encounter, we get this tutorial message saying we need to be quiet, so that meant no sprinting, and we could use all these hiding spots to hide from YARNABY. This is about to be an insanely intense cat and mouse chase. I then proceeded to run through this entire encounter, solving the puzzles with YARNABY not appearing once. Currently, this encounter seems to be not working as intended, but I'm sure when it gets fixed, it will be really fun. I just didn't get to experience that said fun. At least the chase of YARNABY after this segment works. The chase itself is short but sweet. It's no chapter 1 chase by any means, if that isn't obvious, but I'm sure if the previous encounter worked and then you had this chase, it would make for a great segment. We'll have to wait and find out when it's fixed. As a last resort to stop you from getting to him, the Doctor has one more experiment to send you away, that being Barber Chops. I imagine this encounter is very similar to how the YARNABY section would be if it worked, but in a more enclosed space. But YARNABY would most likely one-shot grab rather than being able to survive some hits, like with Barber Chops here. This encounter leans more into a run and gun situation, trying to transfer the electricity using these buttons to open the cages, to get more batteries, to get more currents, to power up the door to escape Barber Chops. But you find yourself trapped by the Doctor, and he gives you an ultimatum. Kill this innocent toy that was once human to save your own life, or die at the hands of the nightmare critters breaking into the room. I don't give a damn. I'm kidding. I reloaded the game and I found another way of escaping, saving the toy. I really like that this chapter gives you decisions like this throughout the game. The chapter really drives home that these are people inside these toys, and because of this, allows for a great payoff at the end of this chapter. We finally come face to face with the Doctor, and get one of the best encounters in all of Poppy Playtime. Simple premise, there are 4 terminals needing batteries which power up gates, opening up more of the area until hopefully you find your way out of this dark, gigantic maze. Also, in this humongous labyrinth with you, there are hundreds of animatronics that the Doctor can control at will and chase you down. This is the best horror segment in this chapter, if not the best horror segment in the game. I'm dead, bro. This area is intense. I am... Oh! Man. Hey, buddy. I found myself getting jump scared multiple times, and the good type of jump scare, not the bad. This is what the previous 3 hours of content was missing, a high quality, unique engagement. But it does have one minor flaw. The Doctor will only one-shot you in certain instances. No! Otherwise, a lot of the time, you will find yourself getting hit by him and getting away. But wait, what if I get hit a second time? I don't like this at all. It makes sense for the critters because they're just little guys, but a giant animatronic like this? Imagine if you were playing FNAF and Foxy got into your room, but all he does is walk in, scratch you with his hook, and leave. After taking the Doctor out, we get the Omni Hand and are able to fix the generator, but the prototype is on his way. So DOEY distracts him whilst we go to the Foundation to blow it up. Now, to get to the Foundation, we need to do a little backtracking, but it isn't entirely clear because while backtracking, every item that you have picked up previously has now respawned. All the documents, all VHS tapes, this makes you feel like you are not meant to be back here. On that note, it's time to talk about the bugs. Infamously, with every new installment of a chapter, you are bound to encounter a lot of bugs are released. Whilst we know that will get fixed in the future, this should not be the standard mob. Mob entertainment is like a kid on Christmas wanting to open their presents as early as possible and just can't wait. But instead it's them not being able to wait to give us their new game, which in hindsight is super sweet, but stop giving me a Porsche with a broken transmission. I'll happily wait for the Porsche to be in perfect condition. Audio issues, lighting issues, entire segments that don't work, doors that clearly shouldn't be open right now, respawning items. And did you know that after the Doctor encounter, if you decide to walk left to the beginning of the segment because, I don't know, you're a loot goblin like me and it's very easy to do, and great, now that door just shut behind me and I'm back to where I was over an hour ago. After setting the charges and getting ready to blow a hole in the foundation, it looks like everything is going your way, until...
I lost track of him in the tunnels. Have you seen him? I let him away, didn't I? The generator's fine. It's... Oh, no.
You make your way back to the safe haven and DOEY loses it. Oh no.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I failed you. Everything.
No, DOEY, let's talk about this, bro. Bro. Bro, no, I promise you, I'm chilling.
Parents, scientists, everyone have to. My friends.
After all, the safe haven was everything to him. They were his family. This was his home. Okay, DOEY.
I'll kill you.
No, DOEY. With no one left to blame but us, we must fight an out-of-control DOEY, even if it's not what we want. No, I don't want to do... No, DOEY, please. Damn it! This fight is all about timing. It's very well done, and I think a lot of people will say it's a step up from the catnap final fight. Personally, I think they are unfair to compare. My biggest issue with the fight itself is once again that if you do get hit by him, which requires you to make a mistake, he only does damage to you. I just cannot understand why after 3 chapters of the game being if you make a mistake and get caught by the creature, you fail, they chose to make the game so forgiving. And the gameplay segments aren't more difficult than the previous chapters, at least by a wider margin. You just removed all the thrill of the chase by doing this. He also grabs you randomly, which gets harder to get out each time he does, until eventually you can't and you die. I like this aspect as it adds more suspense and puts a timer on the encounter so you can't take too long, or make too many mistakes. After taking out DOEY... Yeah, that animation for his death is insane. That's probably the best animations I've seen. We catch up with Poppy and Kissy, who manage to escape, and we get this revelation.
Ollie, something's gone horribly wrong. The safe haven...
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy?
What?
Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Ollie being the prototype is quite a predictable twist, but just because it's a predictable twist doesn't mean it's bad. The floor then caves in thanks to our friend the prototype, aka Ollie, and we find ourselves in a room full of poppies, and the highest security area in Poppy Playtime Co. And hey, an old face is here to say hi. What? Augie! Roll credits. I think Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 has some of the lowest lows of all the chapters, but also some of the highest highs. The first half of this chapter from a gameplay perspective is pretty average. It's only later in the chapter it begins to pick up. But to make up for this sacrifice, you have a very engaging story, with characters, if you choose to get invested, will really care for. The DOEY VHS tape is downright spine-chilling. It had me gasping in shock, staring blankly at the screen.
Mommy won't lie to you, Jackie. Mommy won't hurt you. I'd never hurt you. Hey! Hey! Open this door! Oh, God. Susan! Please! Open the door! Please!
The voice acting and writing in this chapter is downright incredible. Better than what most AAA games put out in today's modern landscape. You can hear the passion and sweat put into each line of dialogue. Every time the doctor begins a monologue, I stood still and listened because I like listening to the dialogue more than I liked saving time. It's just a shame the gameplay to go along with it is just so inconsistent. This chapter is long, like really long. Just as a comparison, this chapter is around the same length of Resident Evil 3 Remake, which says a lot more about how short RE3 Remake is, but that's besides the point. The issue is that just because it's long doesn't mean it's better. They bit off too much they could chew here, and this game would definitely be better if they made 5 really excellent polished segments instead of 12 half-baked ones. And then when there needs to be a major encounter and you expect there to be a major encounter, they have that stripped away from you as well, and instead we get a Nightmare Critters encounter for the 5th time, and just begins to feel lazy. Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 has a massive quantity over quality problem with some bugs that will be ironed out over time. And if you're expecting this chapter to make you like Poppy Playtime, then I don't know what you were thinking. Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 simply isn't made for you. It is made for the people that were already fans of Poppy Playtime. And if you are a fan of Poppy Playtime, you'll love this chapter, like all the rest. You may see its flaws, but you'll still love it anyways, and that's all that matters.